Hi everybody, we're having another story time here at the Turin Library. This time we're going to be reading Owl Moon, and it's by Jane Yolan, and it's illustrated by John Schoener, and it's by Scholastic Books, and they gave us permission to read this. And it's a special story about walking in the woods at night and listening and watching for owls. I wonder if they're going to find any. Owl Moon. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind, the trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us a train whistle blew, long and low like a sad, sad song. There's the train way back there. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out trains and dogs for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the wood, Pa and I. And look, there's a fox. There's a lot of animals hiding in the woods as they're walking. Our feet crunched under the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped along after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I've been waiting a long time to go owling with Pa. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask. Then he called, hoo 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 hoo, the sound of a great horned owl. Hoo 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 hoo. Look, there's a little mouse hiding in it. Again he called out, and then again, and after each call he was silent, listening. For a moment we both listened, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said sometimes there's an owl and sometimes there isn't. But there is a raccoon. We walked on. I could feel the cold as if somebody's icy hand was palmed down on my back. And my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I'd ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was getting wet and warm. I didn't ask what kind of things hid behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. And there's a deer hiding, watching them. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand as if at the sound. I put my mittens over my scarf, over my mouth, and I listened hard. And then Pa called out, hoo 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 hoo, hoo 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 hoo. I listened, and I looked so hard my ears hurt. My eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. Hoo 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo. There one. Pa almost smiled. Then he called her back, hoo, 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 just as if he and the owl were talking about supper or about the woods or the moon or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer, from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Here he comes. All of a sudden, Then Owl Shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. And the shadow hooted again. So here they are, way down here, and here comes, that is a great big owl. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Ooh, kind of a little bit scary, but really neat too. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without sound. It flew back into the forest. Time to go home, Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud, but I was still a shadow as we walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. It's pretty neat that they got to see and hear the owl. So I hope you enjoyed this, and check out our craft shack. We have some owl crafts out there if you're interested, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you later.